Hunt's surprise package to help people with a mortgage amounts to little more than prevailing on the bank's goodwill. But I mean, I posted earlier two concerns about my own bank, which suggest there is no goodwill at all. The bank is out to squeeze its customers as much as possible and to lord it over them in a way that is, well, it's becoming characteristic of the way our society is behaving. It's becoming an extraordinarily controlling society, and I think it's taking its direction from the elite in government. Nobody cares whether people are telling the truth. Nobody cares whether it's right, as long as they can exert authority over others. I think it's a very worrying development. The Chancellor has said two things. Number one, that if anybody is in severe difficulty, they can get help. They will not be repossessed for 12 months, and nor will they have a credit black mark against their name. That's it. That's it. It's all about whether the banks do their paperwork in accordance with their agreement with the Chancellor. But the banks aren't capable of doing their own paperwork in agreement with their customers. So I don't see why we're expecting the banks to achieve a standard of excellence that they cannot demonstrate at the moment. I've had two experiences with my local bank within a matter of 2 weeks. And I posted details of this online, and people have come back and said, well, it sounds like a scam. It really does sound like a scam. On the first occasion, somebody from the bank telephoned me. They said that they were going to telephone me. They sent, eventually I got the SMS message, but after the alleged telephone call, the alleged telephone call never came. Instead, the bank used a ruse to leave a very suspicious message on my mobile phone. I mean, if that's not going to worry me, what is? I then called. I got an extremely testy assistant who said that the person who had left the message was had already gone off on holiday for the weekend. This was last Friday, and this would have been around about 3 o'clock. I eventually got hold of her on the Monday, and she said she was looking for information about a transaction that I had made last summer. And she wanted details of telephone numbers and stuff. And I thought, well, you already have this stuff. I was very cautious. And eventually she said everything was fine. 2 days later, I got a letter from the bank saying that they were looking for this information. So maybe it was correct. And then today, there was a problem with my debit card. And it was a problem that had occurred online with a routine online payment that didn't go through for some bizarre reason. And the bank claimed this was because my debit card had been blocked because of suspected fraud. When I called them and had a very unpleasant conversation with an agent, they came out with all manner of nonsense about how many times this card had been tried. And when I raised an eyebrow about this, the agent in the fraud department, who was being a little bit haughty, these people don't seem to realise that they are a service industry, said that I hadn't provided sufficient information. I then went over the information I had provided, and he accepted it. Again, when I relayed the story online, a lot of people said they thought it was a scam. I'm not convinced it wasn't. Again, I called the bank and asked if they'd been in touch, or if they'd got a record of my being in touch with them. They seemed to think that I had been in touch. So what appears to be a scam is in fact routine practice by the bank. And yet we also hear the bank will never telephone you. So how can we trust that the banks are going to work with the Chancellor to ensure that we are not further stung by the mortgage rate hike, which was entirely caused by Liz Truss and her ridiculous project predicated on Kwasi Kwarteng's prodigious package? This is madness. How can we trust the bank? And how can we trust Hunt and his cronies? I don't believe we can. I don't believe we can. This is just words that means almost nothing. Let me know if you agree with me, and let me know if you think there's a solution to this. I've certainly seen my own mortgage rocket to a point where I have to take on extra teaching work. It's absurd. Utterly, utterly absurd.